let's talk woven filling. I'm going to use one color and I'm going to use all 6 strands just so you can see it. Typically, I would use fewer because it makes it hard to pull my embroidery floss all the way through to use so many strands, but we're living dangerously here at 108 Contemporary. And I'm going to use another color. I have a couple of greens, so I'll swap out later. First, I'm going to tie a knot on the back. And I'm going to use this color to create a warp. Now in weaving, the warp thread is what the weave is anchored around. It can be any color, it's part of creating the pattern and the texture, but it is typically, the warp is going vertically from wherever you are. Being right-handed, I'm going to start on the left side and work my way that way. If you are left-handed, you can start this way and go back the other way. This is a really easy stitch to reverse directions. So I'm going to try and come up in a straight line. Thankfully, I have done myself the favor of drawing the line. And my next stitch, I'm going to come up about this far away on that top line. And then come down to the bottom line. And I'm going to repeat this process of come up on the bottom line, down on the top line, trying to keep things straight. And then coming up on the top line and down on the bottom line. I'm going to finish this and then meet you back here. Welcome back. As you can see, I have my warp, the vertical parts of my weaving finished. I've swapped colors and tied a knot, came up through this bottom right corner, again, because I'm right-handed, so I'm going to start working to my left. And then I came up just a little above this line, just a little bit. I'm going to start working my needle through these threads, not through the fabric, in an over-under pattern. And I believe I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. I just happen to have an even number of warp threads. So I'm going to, if I start over, then I'm going to end under. I'll show you. Over, under, all the way to the other side. Now I don't have a shed stick or a comb or a beater like I would if I were weaving on a loom, whichever tool you would use for the kind of loom that you'd be using. So I'm going to use the eye of my needle to press my thread to the bottom here. And then to secure it, I'll come down through this corner. And then to form my next row, a pick of the horizontal stitch, which in weaving terms would be the weft. If you did our craft kit from the Wove exhibition by Shaniqua, then you know all these terms already. Or if you're a weaver, I don't know your life. So I'm going to come up just on the other side because since I ended underneath this outside stitch or the selvage edge, then I need to start going the other direction over. Another trick that you can use if you find yourself piercing through your warp a lot is to just turn your needle so that the more blunt side, is the one working the other direction. Again, I'm going over, under, over. Pulling all the way through. And I want this to be a tight weave. So that's why I'm pushing everything towards the bottom. And then, same as the other side, I'm going to come down through my fabric to secure the stitch. You might be wondering to yourself, could I skip going down to the fabric and simply weave my way up? Sure, you could. It would be a little less secure, and I think it'd be more difficult to keep your selvage ends from pulling inward. So I recommend sticking to this method for the time being until you get really good at it. All right, I'm going to fill the rest of this square and then I'll meet you at the end. Welcome back, both to the final look of the stitch and to the suspended disbelief that this is the same day. Ignore any evidence to the contrary and do not assume, correctly or otherwise, that this is a completely different day because perhaps I forgot how pause versus record works. Just saying. This is an in-house production. All right. Before we close, I want to show you how to add these little tassels. And naturally, because this is how creativity works, there's a bunch of different ways to do this. But how I'm doing it is using the eye of my needle to just come up under, just kind of shove through these corner threads. Then I'm going to remove my needle. And I want just enough that I can tie it around itself. I like to do this because it tends to keep it more together. I could do a square knot like this, but then the ends tend to go in opposite directions instead of in a tassel shape. So I'm just doing one knot. If I'm concerned about this knot coming undone, I can add a little bit of either fabric glue or clear nail polish to keep it in place. But since I'm not anticipating handling this knot, then I think it'll be all right. All right. I'm going to snip the end. And then use the point of my needle. An old mascara brush can also work really nicely for this. If you're doing a lot of turkey work, keeping a cleaned old mascara wand in your toolkit can be extremely helpful and handy. As if I were doing any more than this, it might get a little old. Yeah, tassels appropriately fluffed. Could always go back and do more if so desired, but that's how I do these tassels.